Hello everyone, my name is Zenitsu, and I'm back with another Digimon video. So today I'm going to be taking a look at a couple of interesting decks from the BT21 environment and, well, talking about them. So, just as a quick little disclaimer, no, I did not actually build and test these decks myself. I found them on various meta databases that showed top performing decks or decks that had done well at either a locals level or above style event, and I just thought these were interesting enough to want to highlight and talk about them. So, they're most likely not super competitively viable, but that shouldn't stop you from wanting to play these decks at a more casual level, and I just wouldn't really recommend taking these to larger events if you're expecting to do well. So with all that said and done, let's just dive right into the first deck and see what this player was cooking up. And lo and behold, they actually were iterating on Three Musketeers, which I think is pretty nice because Three Musketeers did get a couple of decent upgrades to actually consider when it comes to what this deck is able to do and what it's capable of. So if anyone's unfamiliar with what this deck was initially doing, this is the EX7 core, and what this core is doing is utilizing, just like the original Three Musketeers, the ability to play out your options rather easily and efficiently, and then the options have this added benefit to be able to tuck itself underneath our Three Musketeers traded Digimon, so that way our Three Musketeers traded Digimon could then trash them for additional value, so our cards become even more impactful because of all of the different ways that we have to utilize them. So as far as the upgrades to this deck goes, the biggest new inclusion is going to be in the form of Promo Avenge Kidmon, which is a pretty fantastic card at adding extra resilience to the deck overall, because its on-delete ability allows us to play a Three Musketeers traded Digimon with a play cost of 12 or less from our hand or trash for free. So that's really powerful of an ability. Just when he leaves the field, essentially, get a free mega level Digimon to replace him is really good, especially since all of our level 6 Digimon that's not Avenge Kidmon has a play cost of 12 or less. But what else is this card doing that's actually making him really strong is the fact that he even has just a whole lot of good keywords. So he has Raid, Blocker, and Retaliation, so that way we could use him as a really fantastic control tool to try to slow the opponent down because of the blocker, and if we're unable to want to block the opponent's Digimon, then we could still rely on the Raid ability to attack into the opponent's Digimon anyway, and anything that's bigger than him, whether he's attacking into them or he's blocking them, combined with the Retaliation ability means that he's going to try to delete the opponent's Digimon. Then he even has two alternative ways that we're going to be playing him. The first one is obviously Digivolving him off of a Three Musketeer for a little bit cheaper than his normal printed Digivolution cost. We could still hard play him for a reduced play cost of 6, and all it takes is for us returning 3 cards with Three Musketeers in their text from our trash to the bottom of our deck, which is basically going to be any of our lower end pieces, to have an easy way to just hard play a level 6 Digimon to try to stave off some damage. But as far as the other promo that we got that's really enhancing what this deck is able to do, that's going to be in the form of Bind Red Trigger. So Bind Red Trigger is a really good card because it allows Three Musketeers to chip more at the opponent's security than what they were able to before, because the deck really doesn't have that high of a damage output, so it needs to find alternative ways to be able to squeeze in some damage, let alone safe and free damage, and what better way to do that with a new option that we can utilize. Then this card is also a really good security threat, which is one of the core strengths to Three Musketeers as a whole, is because security right now is at an all-time weak state because of just how we're playing the game and the types of cards that we're running when it comes to deck building and deck construction, and the fact that Three Musketeers actually definitely wants and does have a slew of good options for us to utilize, makes our security actually more threatening than the average deck, especially since this card out of security allows us to delete one of the opponent's Digimon with the highest DP. So we get a really toolbox the abilities that we can utilize when it comes to our options, and this just gives us another one to play around with, especially since the fact that when this card is trashed from our Digivolution source, which is what our Digimon are going to be doing anyway off of their abilities, then we get to delete one of the opponent's Digimon with 7,000 DP or lower to, again, have some really good control on their lower levels. And then when it comes to some of the other new cards that the deck has gotten, we did get some apps that are interacting with Three Musketeers. So the best new card that we're going to be using in one of the strongest level 5s is going to be Stellamon. So this is, yes, an app Digimon, so we could use it with other apps to be able to make him a pretty threatening Digimon at the level 5 stage, which just, again, gives us alternative ways to be able to figure out how we're going to optimize and utilize our cards. And this card is actually just kind of insane on how strong this card is able to be, because he has an on-play and when Digivolving ability, where by placing a Appmon or Three Musketeers traded card from our hand or trash as the bottom of this Digimon's Digivolution source until the end of the opponent's turn, their effects can't return this Digimon to the hand or deck, and it also can't be affected by Digivolve. So this is some really good protection, which is something that the deck surely needs, because this also could carry on to the higher stages if we wanted to evolve past this card when we Digivolve into it initially. Then the additional benefit for utilizing this card as a level 5 is his other when Digivolving and when attacking ability, where we get to trash one card with Applemon or Three Musketeers in its traits from our Digimon's Digivolution source to then de-Digivolve one of the opponent's Digimon, which de-Digivolve is really strong form of soft removal, and the fact that we can recursively use this if this card sticks around really could disrupt what the opponent's overall game plan is, while again still being a really effective level 5 Digimon for us to use, whether we're going to Digivolve it into either of our level 6s or just try to ace bait the opponent. It's all up to you on how you're going to approach utilizing the card, and we did get a really good supporting app that they chose to run with it, which is going to be in the form of Scoured. So if anyone's unfamiliar with how the link mechanic works, you basically pay the link cost to be able to slide this into another Appmon. So when we do that, we get to draw 2 cards and discard 2 cards, which is something this deck desperately needs, because if you noticed, this player's not electing to run any consistency options because they have to use those option spaces for the built-in Three Musketeers options, so we need any additional way to be able to draw cards that we could fit in. So this card is a fantastic card at doing so, while also interacting with Stellamon, and he even has an on-play and when Digivolving ability of his own, where we get to place a Three Musketeers or Appmon traded card from our hand or trash to one of our Digimon's Digivolution sources to be able to gain a memory, so he's actually super tempo efficient to Digivolve up into to try to climb our stages as quickly as we possibly can. And that's it for all of the new tools that this player elected to run, and obviously they were able to find success utilizing the new tools, and it's not like there's a couple of tools that we can't necessarily consider utilizing to further enhance what the deck is capable of. It's all about that iteration and testing to see where you are personally comfortable with this deck, but I do think the groundwork has definitely been laid for a really solid foundation on the continued iteration of what Three Musketeers is capable of. And then when it comes to the next deck, it's going to be another oldie but goodie in the form of Blue Flares. So yes, Blue Flares is still able to find success, and that's exactly what this player did with this iteration of the deck, trying to take it into a more control-orientated build from the looks of it, leveraging a lot of the BT19 pieces in using them in some interesting ways, especially utilizing cards outside of the Blue Flare archetype to enhance what it's able to do. And as far as those outside enhancements, that's all thanks to one of the brand new cards that we recently got, which is going to be the Starter Deck 21 version of Ikakumon. So even though this isn't a blue flare traded card, it's still a pretty solid card for this deck because it is a security Digimon. So you could just have a surprise Digimon to then Digivolve into or continue the aggression on the opponent, depending on the situation. And on top of that, it even has a really good on play and when Digivolving ability to try to disrupt the opponent's game plan even further. Then it even has a nice inheritable ability for if we're ever going to be using it, where it's just a simple when attacking ability of allowing us to draw a card if we have 7 or fewer cards in our hand, which we very easily could depending on how aggressive we are with the usage of the Digicross mechanic. Then as far as the additional outside resources, we're going to be running the Kazuhamon. So this isn't necessarily a brand new tech card, but it's still one that's being ran, even though it is limited to 1, but this card still is super powerful at what it's doing because it allows us to play a option card that has a play cost of 5 or less from our hand for free, which Blue Flares has one of the better 5-costed option cards that helps with the deck setup and consistency, on top of the fact that we do have some additional other option cards we could leverage to do other things with. But the main draw of the fact that we're going to be using the option not only for free is the additional ability where then we get to play out a Taumon or a level 4 or lower blue or yellow Digimon from its Digivolution sources for free, which is something that the deck already is trying to take advantage of thanks to the BT21 Metal Greymon's inheritable ability. So this is going to be comboing insanely well with the brand new BT19 Greymon, which natively has Rush, so that way we could Digivolve into Kazuhamon, do Kazuhamon things, and then play out the Greymon, and then the Greymon can swing, so that just seems pretty good at being able to apply instant extra pressure out of nowhere, especially since this Digimon also has an on-delete ability, where if we have 1 or fewer tamers in play, we get to basically play out our mainstead tamer from our hand for free, and then also save, so he's going to put himself right underneath the tamer that he ideally just played. And he even comes with the inheritable of Reboot, so we have good offensive and defensive plays to make our Digimon a little bit more annoying for the opponents to deal with, which is what Blue Flares already was kind of doing with a lot of its other Digimon. And we are going to enhance our higher stage Digimon with the BT19 male Birdramon as well, because not only does it natively have blockers, so we could try to stave off some of the low-end chip damage that the opponent could try to leverage towards their advantage, but it also has the inheritable blocker while having an on-delete ability of basically super save, so you get to not only just save himself and put him underneath one of our tamers, but you also get to place any of our other Blue Flare traded cards from our trash under our tamers, so we have better access at being able to reuse the cards that we want and need when we need them. And as far as getting our cards set up, that's also thanks to the brand new BT19 Gaussmon, which has an on-play and on-delete ability of basically putting a Blue Flare traded card from our hand underneath one of our tamers and draw a card, so we could try to get our tamer set up a little bit quicker while cycling through our deck at the same time. And when it comes to the level 5s, it looks like this player is still electing to run the Metal Greymon from EX4 and BT10, just not in a high quantity in focus, and instead it's going to be more on Cyber Launcher because it's still just a very strong card and it's definitely underrated, on top of the fact that we're going to be utilizing the new Metal Greymon as the main focal point for this deck because just like the others, he has Material Save 2 and on play to gain Rush, so that way we could Digicross and swing with him right away, on top of the fact that his when attacking ability not only lets us de-Digivolve 1 from one of the opponent's Digimon, which is really good form of soft removal to disrupt their potential game plan, but we also get to Digivolve into a Blue Flare traded Digimon from under our tamer for free, so we could use this to be able to get up into a free Cyber Launcher, or we could use it to get up into a free Siege Greymon. But the fact that we're going to be doing this combos with his inheritable ability no matter which Digimon we're actually going to be Digivolving into, because at the end of the attack we get to play out a level 4 or lower Digimon with the Blue Flare trait from underneath one of our tamers for free, so we could try to even utilize cards that are underneath our tamer alternatively to be able to not only have some good disruption based on what we're going to be playing out or good extra consistency, but again, in combination with the BT19 Greymon, we could even have some additional pressure to try to close out games a little bit smoother. And as far as the new desired Siege Greymon, you could consider playing the old one, but this player elected to use the new one because the new one has an on-play and when digivolving ability to de-digivolve 2 on one of the opponent's Digimon. So if we're digivolving this mid-attack, then we already de-digivolved 1, so now we could effectively de-digivolve even more, which is really strong to be able to put the opponent that much further behind on tempo, while also potentially breaking some of their protections that they may or may not have. And then we also get to have the ability where if the opponent has 2 or more Digimon in play, we get to return one of their level 4 or lower Digimon back into their hand, which we ideally de-digivolved them into, so that way we could try to clear out their field as efficiently as we could as well. Then he also has the on-delete ability to play out a Blue Flare or Cross Hearts traded Digimon with the play cost of 5 or less from underneath our tamer for free, while also saving himself. So this essentially is allowing us to be able to utilize our level 4s in some new and unique ways to further enhance what the deck is capable of, because before, one of the deck's biggest key weaknesses is the fact that they heavily rely on the opponent having 2 or more Digimon in play to make a lot of their plays, and this iteration of the deck really doesn't seem to have that weakness or downside. Then when it comes to just wanting to utilize some of our cards a little bit differently, because the Siege Greymon does actually have an inheritable ability, that's kind of where the Omnimon's Wart Defeat is going to be coming in to add some extra tamer hate, so that way we could try to get rid of some of their tamers that are going to be causing us lots of problems in the future, while also having some good built-in removal when he gets deleted himself. And he's even a free security Digimon, so he could incidentally help with the overall aggression if the opponent is checking him out of security, and we're able to live against the amount of pressure that the opponent is trying to put us under. And then when it comes to the newest addition, when it comes to the Tamer lineup, that's going to be the BT19 Kirya, because he's effectively just an engine card that the deck really was lacking, where we're going to be placing a card with Blue Flare or Cross Hearts from our hand underneath our Tamer and gain a memory. So we're not drawing a card, which is why a lot of the additional card draw is super nice and important, so that way we could try to maintain a solid hand size and use this to be able to gain us that additional tempo so we can make more powerful plays possible, while also having the ever so classic All-Turns ability, where when one of our Blue Flare Digimon with a Digicross requirement is played, we get to suspend this tamer to essentially Digicross with the cards that are underneath him, which is what the other two are kind of doing. It's just the Kiriha and Nene just allows us to also Digicross from our trash, again just increasing the amount of cards that we're able to use at any point of the game based on what our current state is and the cards we want and need to utilize. Then we're still going to be running Blaze Memory Boost as the primary option, but now thanks to all of the new added play lines, we could leverage Blue Scramble to be able to grab back cards from our trash that we need, or potentially set up a Digimon on our field, which again just allows us to be able to leverage the rush ability off of the Greymon to further enhance what our combo play is capable of, on top of the fact that we have mental training to have cheaper access at digivolving when we need it. And then the last deck that I'm going to be highlighting is definitely the strongest of the family decks, and that's going to be the new iteration on Deep Savers. And Deep Savers obviously can leverage a lot of the aquatic cards because a lot of its best tools are also dubbing as aquatic cards. So the fact that we actually have really good consistency in terms of its coloration on top of its overall game plan on how the mechanic that Aquatics generally plays with in terms of source manipulation, putting cards in, taking cards out, playing Digimon by effects, all adds into higher levels of usability on our cards versus a lot of the other family cards. And this deck actually can leverage the aquatic cards to be able to enhance that type of gameplay a lot more than what some of the other families pieces can do if they were to try to limit themselves to one color. So this is looking to be a pretty strong deck, still leveraging on the fact that the whole end goal is to split out Plesio into Mega Seadramon, and then Mega Seadramon using Plesio's ability to DNA into Aegistramon. That part's not changing, it's just we do get a couple of new tech and tools to be able to enhance other play lines that the deck is able to do. So the option package I'm not really going to be mentioning a whole lot because it's just your classic option package for most decks, but the big new highlight is the fact that Regulusmon is a very solid Digimon because he has a cheaper Digivolution cost on our Deep Saver cards, but that's not necessarily that big of an issue considering all of the costs and memory saving that we do have, and sometimes you do want to pay that extra amount to try to leverage his when Digivolve in when attacking ability, where once per turn, if we have one or more memory, then the opponent adds the top card of their security to their hand, effectively burning their security, which is really strong, especially when we're trying to close out games a little bit more efficiently. This just helps make that task a little bit easier. And then he also has the added benefit if we ever miss that ability or if we're at perfectly one memory, where if we have one or less memory, then until the end of the opponent's turn, one of their Digimon or Tamers can't suspend. So that's really good at trying to limit what their cards are even capable of doing, while being a Deep Savers and Aquatic traded card himself. And he even has a nice on-play and when Digivolving ability, where one of our Digimon with the Deep Savers trait can unsuspend, so we could use it both offensively and defensively. So that's really important because of the fact that it could be split out with the Aegistramon as well. So it is just another card that has high levels of usability, similar to Metal Seadramon Ace, but the fact that we have more Mega level Digimon for the deck to play around with, it definitely enhances what it's capable of. And then as far as what the rest of the deck is doing, outside of the EX8 Mega Seadramon, we're actually just running a lot of the Liberator and Aquatic generic low-end pieces. So we're leveraging Marine Bullmon to manipulate our sources and to be able to play out our Digimon so we can find new ways to be able to aggress or defend, on top of the fact that we have the Promo Shellmon, which is a really strong card because when he's getting played out by effects, we could use his ability to place more inheritables underneath and draw a card, adding to the overall consistency, while its end of attack ability is just pure consistency. And that's kind of what the other Shellmon is doing, just manipulating our memory instead of drawing us cards, while also being able to set up our Tamer, which we have two different Yaos that we're going to be using. We have the Memory Setter Yao, and we also have the Promo Yao, and the Promo Yao is really good because when we're going to be splitting out our Digimon by effects, this Yao will let us be able to Digivolve, which is really good at being able to rebuild into new stacks relatively quickly. And we have the Promo Seadramon, which, yes, is an expensive card, but you don't necessarily need it, but it still helps because of the fact that it's going to be giving our Digimon that we're playing out by effects the Rush ability, which is really good, on top of its own base native protection that it's going to be offering the deck. And just to try to increase the overall consistency, that's where Lanamon's going to come into play, while also having that potential hybrid for game factor that they're going to have to worry about as well. And the level 3s are relatively easy because Swimmon just has good keywords and is in Tribe, while also having the Sengomon be a good consistency tool while also helping us manipulate our memory, just like the BT21 version that also is going to be a good tempo tool because it'll allow us to help reduce the Digivolution cost of our Digimon Digivolving into our higher stages. So you can kind of see how a lot of these parts and pieces are kind of working in tandem with each other to just make the Deep Savers top end actually be really potent and effective at times, and that's what this player decided to do and leverage to be able to find their success. So that's all I really have for this video. As always, feel free to tell me your thoughts about the decks down in the comments below. And while you're down there, you might as well leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy this type of content and find it to be helpful and informative. And with that, I hope to see you all in the next video. Later.